Hello YouTube. Well, this is part 3 of the series of how to install LED lights in your kayak. Just to kind of touch bases, where we ended up yesterday was the installing of the switches, the 4 switches here in the cockpit. Have the wires ran out, separated them, have them labeled to which switch they go to. I already pulled out all the wires to the LED strips and kind of got them separated here. I'm going to show you what I do there to organize these wires. I guess today I want to accomplish installing or getting this little power distribution box in place and put all these wires in it that we already have, that we already ran. That way it'll help clean up this and make the rest of the installation go a lot easier. I will go over this little power distribution box that I came up with and show you exactly what I did to make it. So without further ado, let's get started, because it's going to be a long, lengthy video again. I apologize for being winded in these videos, but I try to go through each detail as much as possible so that you will have an understanding in what it takes to install these LEDs. That way it will help cut down on confusion and possibly making a mistake, because if you're like me, you've got a lot invested in your kayak and you don't want to mess it up by drilling holes that you really don't need. So we do have a couple more holes to drill, but you know, what are you going to do? If you want LED lights, you're going to have to do some drilling. So let's get started, and I'll go over this little box with you. So come along, stay tuned, grab some snacks or your favorite beverage, and let's learn a little bit more. Alright guys, here's that little box I was telling you about, the little power distribution panel or power distribution box, whatever you want to call it. Now, I've already installed a set of 632 socket head screws. I drilled a series of holes. I kind of had an idea of how many wire terminations I will need for this installation, and left me a couple of extras for any future installation of switches or wires, LEDs, spotlights, what have you. Now, the way it's set up, I also already have one of the bus bars. This is going to be the 12-volt bus. This little one here, by the way, I made from a stock aluminum bar that you can buy at any hobby shop or most hardware stores. And I cut the bar just to fit inside the box. You can make one or custom make one to fit whatever needs you have. And I already drilled and tapped 2 holes here, and then I'll be coming in the back with a couple of screws and bolt it in position just like I did this one here. I'll get in more detail of this once I get started. It's kind of confusing right now, so I won't bore you with the details there. So let me take this over to my drill press, and I'm going to drill it with a 632 drill and tap it with a 632 tap, and it'll be ready to install. I already have 2 bolts there, already pre-drilled the ends, so all I have to do there is put a couple of spacers, a couple of washers on these 2 screws inside, and bolt this down. So bear with me while I drill this little bus bar out. Alright, let's finish assembly little box. I got this all drilled. Now it's just a matter of getting my 632 tap. Okay, one more hole to tap. If I can get this installed in the box. Okay, we got the bus bar in. All we gotta do is tighten it up a little bit. Got the spacers in. There. Now, I already got the nuts on these 632 bolts that are coming in from the rear. Just got a couple more nuts to go on the remaining two. Now what I want to do there, and what I've done already, is you need a couple of one washer. You want to put a washer down first, and then you want to run a you want to use a lock nut for this application. That way it will tie the bolt, or it will tighten the bolt in place so that it won't spin out on you when you put the other nut on top. Because when you bring in your wires with the lug, the terminal lug on it, you'll need to put another 632 bolt on top. Well, this lock nut will lock that bolt in place and keep it from spinning out when you tighten up the final nut that you put on the very top. Okay? Hope I make that plain. Okay, the box is complete. This is the lid that goes on top, but I've got all my the other nuts, spade lugs, and washers, if need be, all gathered up, so I'll keep them together. We'll go over to the Kayak and start crimping wires and get it prepped to install, start doing the wiring. Alright, I hope you can see. These are this is the Velcro I've installed to where it matches this, mates up with that. This is where I'll be putting the box, just like that. Now, that's why I drilled a hole. If you can see there, that little bolt was in the way. So that's why I had to drill a hole in my box to accommodate that. So the idea is here, that's where it's going to be hanging, give or take a few inches. Now, what I want to do is I want to pull the wires coming from my LED strips as an example, and bring them over and kind of loosely measure them, and then leave me enough slack to where I can bring the box out and work on it. That way I'm not in such tight constricted areas if I need to add any wires or take any wires off. Okay, so let me figure out what length of wires I need to cut these to, and I'll show you the method of installing them. Okay, with the box temporarily in place, I went ahead and pulled out, these are the LED lights, the LED lights wires, by the way. While the box was in place, I pulled all the slack out of the wires from the furthest LED along the gunnel and the LED strip in the front, pulled all the slack, pulled it up out of the way so I know everything's good and snug, and I've determined the length of about what I need to cut these wires to, and then put the crimps, the terminal lugs on them. I'll crimp the wires on these, and this will give me enough leadway or enough slack to where I could pull the distribution box out and do a little wiring and then stick it back in. So my ideal is to bring the box up to here, do whatever wiring I need, and then take it back inside, and I'll have places inside the Kayak that I will snug up. I have these small plastic tie wrap mounting pads. You can get these at Lowe's or a lot of the electronic shops. They have a little sticky back. Now, I've had these for a few years. I don't know how good that glue is on the tape, but nonetheless, I'm not worried at all. I've got that E6000 silicone adhesive. I guarantee that'll glue it in place. So this is, and what it is, I'll show you a little later, that you put a zip tie through this. This mounting plate will go somewhere secure in the kayak, and then I'll have a zip tie to put in it that will hold all the wires together. Okay, so now that I've determined there's where I want to cut my wires. Okay, and I'm going to strip them. Make sure you strip them long enough to where you're not biting you're getting a good crimp and you're not biting into the insulation. Otherwise, that would make for a bad connection. Okay, so this is all the LED strips that are coming from the port side. You know what I mean by that, don't you? Port is left, starboard is right. How do you remember that? Port, P-O-R-T, is 4 letters. L-E-F-T is 4 letters. Port, left, starboard, right. Okay, I've got room for more wires, so I've got plenty wires coming over. I may go ahead and put all the switches on one terminal too. It'll save me some aggravation inside. So we've got that in place. So let me gather up all this stuff and I'll continue stripping. I'll show you as I get further into the installation. I'll stop and do some more recording. Made the terminations. What I did, I bundled, just to save on space inside the box, I bundled all the LEDs I have mounted on the interior or in the cockpit, and put the ground on one ring spade lug, or ring lug, whatever you want to call it, and crimped them. And I have all the blue on one lug and crimped it. Now, oh yeah, before you continue, let me get my battery and let's test the connection. I should touch these two together and all 4 LED strips should light up. And they do. So we're good to go. Now, let me pull you in closer and I'll show you how I'm going to wire this up. Okay, maybe I could show you over my shoulder a little easier. Like I said, I wired up all the blue wires to one terminal spade. This is the positive end of each LED strip. It will be going to one of these terminal points here. I'm going to place it there. And that will get a nut. I'm just going to put this on temporarily because I'll have to install another lug coming from the switches here. I'll explain that as I go. Just snug that in. And now the negative side of all the switches, all the LED strips, that's the black lead, it will go to the negative bus. And there I will install it with a 632 socket. And that can be secured firmly because I won't need to add any more wires to it, but I will have to add my switch here. The blue wire of my switch will go here, and the black wire will go to this termination, and this is going to be switch 1. So whenever I turn on switch 1, it will put plus 5 volts to the plus 5, I keep saying plus 5, forgive me, that's plus 12. It will take my 12 volts, go through the switch, put 12 volts here on the blue wires going to my LED strips, and through the LED strips they will be terminated here through the ground. So that will complete the path, and therefore they will light. Okay? It's a little simpler than what it seems to be in your mind, but once you wrap your thoughts around this and you get the whole idea, you'll understand what's going on. Okay? Now I'm going to wire up one of the switches, and then we will let's see if I can get some kind of power to this thing, and we'll see if it works. Okay, I got the switch wires mounted. All I've got to do is tighten them up. As I said before, the positive end, or the blue wire from S1, is coming to the plus 12 bus bar. Tighten it down. And then the black wire coming from S1 will be going to this termination. I don't know if you can see. Come on, focus. Okay, the blue wire from S1, or black wire from S1, will go to the blue wires of the LED strips. And I'll tighten this nut up, tighten it down. Okay. Then the power, or the current, will continue through the LED strips on the boat all the way back through the grounding point, or the negative bus bar, and therefore we should get light. Okay, let me see if I can rig up something to put some power on these two buses, and we'll flip the switches just to show you how this works. Here's my distribution box. I have temporarily installed a 9-volt battery. I put the plus 5 on the plus bus bar, and the plus 9 in this case. I got to get my voltages straight. I took a 9-volt battery, put the plus terminals on the plus bus strip, and the negative terminal, negative wire, goes to the negative side. Alright, now if I've got this wired correctly, if I've got my switches and my LEDs wired correctly, when I hit S1, the lights on the interior of the boat should light up. So let's see if that'll happen. Okay, let's keep an eye on these panels over here. This is S1. Okay, it works. So I hope you get the idea from this little demonstration that once you get all the wires connected and everything in place, now it takes a little while, but at least it's manageable. You know where your wires are going, you know where they terminate, you know what switch is, you know what switch does what function, whatever function you assign it to. So hopefully this will give you an idea of what you might want to do to your boat. Instead of just wiring everything together in one big conglomeration, you can come here and have a nice little neat package. It makes it a neat installation. Okay, I'm going to finish up all the other wires, and then I'll show you everything in its place. Okay, friends, I've got everything buttoned up, and I'll show it to you here in a second. One thing that helped make this a neat installation is the zip ties, and have this little tiny mounting plate. You can get these at Lowe's. It's plastic, and it's got a foam pad on the back. I think I showed it earlier, but this is what makes this installation really nice. You just peel off the backing and stick it in crucial areas where you want to zip the wires up with the little plastic tie wraps. So I'll show you what that looks like inside. But first, notice anything different there? No wires sticking out. Okay, let me bring the light around here. Alright. There's the power distribution box in place. I'll put you down in the cavity of the boat. Let me take you down in the hatch. Alright, hopefully that'll help get you more visibility. But you see the little tie wrap mounting plates? See everything? You remember that mess we had in the bottom of the boat? Everything seems to be out of the way. Alright. Okay, that was a major task to get all those wires cleaned up, installed in the little box. But as you can see, it really makes a neat installation. Everything's out of the way. If I want to remove a wire or take a connection out, I can. So I think the next thing I'll do is I'll probably end the video on this evening, get it all edited and upload it this evening. So tomorrow or the next video we'll do the Hobie through hole connection and install the main power supply cord for that. Then hopefully I can tackle the spotlight. That should be fairly easy setup. And if I can finish up the installation with the 2 white LED lights on the exterior of the boat. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little video and garnered some education or a little bit of technique on how to do the wiring in your boat. So until next time, I will see you and we will continue the installation. I think it'll be part 4. Okay? I'll see you next time. Have a good evening.